All right, so this one is going to be a little bit harder than it has been before. And I think you'll figure out why as we go through this. First of all, we got to make sure everything is lined up, right? The x's, the y's, but oh wait. The y's and the equal signs are not lined up. We got to turn that first one into standard form first so everything lines up. So let's go ahead and rewrite that one. Remember, no, I can't think of the word. Can't think of the word. I'm just going to steal this. Maybe. Okay, that came with us in two different pieces, but you know what? It worked out just fine. So for this one, we want this to move over to the other side, so we're actually going to need to move it by adding 3y here, adding 3y here. Turns out that was very useful. So we've got a 0 here. Now we've actually got this in standard form, so we've got this negative 2x plus 3y, negative 2x, there we go, plus 3y. Now I have enough room. Equals that positive 1. Nice, standard form. So let's go ahead and bring this one down. And I guess I'll rewrite it this time. So we've got 6x plus 2y equals 30. Okay, this is the new system that I've got with both of them in standard form. But notice, we don't actually have anything that we can eliminate right away. We've got a negative 2 with the 6, we've got a 3 with the 2. And since those are completely different numbers, that means multiplying by a negative 1 isn't going to solve this problem either. So I guess we're going to have to go with multiplying by a different number. So let's multiply, well, let's see. Our goal is to make sure we can eliminate one of the variables, which means we need a positive and negative of the exact same coefficient. Well, I do have a negative right here. That could be useful. So if I take this one and multiply it, well, it needs to align with the 6. I got it. 2 times 3 is 6. And since this is already negative, I can just make this entire thing a negative 6 if I just multiply it by 3. But remember, we've got to be fair here. If I multiply this first term by 3, whoopsies, there we go. If I multiply this first term by a negative positive 3, then we have to multiply everything here by this positive 3. So all of this is being multiplied here, here, and here. So let's rewrite this over here. 3 times the negative 2 is that negative 6 that we wanted. 3 times the positive 3, oh, forgot the x. 3 times 3 is 9. Y equals 3 times the 1, which is a 3. Very nice. This actually matches up very, very nicely because look at this. We've got a negative 6 and a positive 6. That's going to equal a 0. And then we can deal with the rest of it as we go. So let's do this. Add all of this together because this is our new system here. Like I said before, this is going to be a 0, so we don't need to worry about it anymore. 9y plus 2y is going to be 11y. Equals 3 plus 33, or 33. 3 plus 30 is 33. I gave the answer too early. Dang. Oh well. All right, last step on this one at least is to get rid of our coefficient. Divide by 11, both sides. Our y is going to be equal to a 3. But remember, this is a system, which means we have 2 variables, which means we need an ordered pair here. We need that x comma y. So far we've got the y. Nice. So now I just need to plug it back into one of our original equations and find out what the x is. All right, so let's just pick the easier one. That might not be so clear right away. So let's just pick one of them. It doesn't matter which one. It'll work for either one. Remember, more than one way around the mountain. So let's take this one. Wow. There we go. I'm short. Let's take this one. So we've got 6x plus 2y equals 30. Okay. Well, from here, I know that the y is actually the 3, so let's go ahead and use substitution for that one. We've got 6x plus 2, and not the y, we're substituting in the 3 for that, is 30. Fill in the parentheses with that 3. Excellent. Now let's just go ahead and simplify and solve for x. Well, 2 times 3 is 6, and we've still got this 6x, and we've got the 30 over here. This is just a 2-step equation. Look at all those 6's. Minus 6 here, minus 6 here. We've got 6x equals a 24. Took me a second, but I got there. Last step is just to go ahead and divide by this coefficient on both sides. X is going to be equal to 4. And then from there, we can fill it in right here. as a 4. Now, because we have those special cases, we do have those special cases, right?
We haven't done it yet.
Oh, dang. So what am I doing with this box?
Just show how to do it onto the grade book. So click here. So how would I put this on my open math?
Okay, cool.
Open math.
Sorry about that. Okay, so how would we actually put this into my open math to actually put in our answer? Well, we know our answer is 4, 3. And in my open math, it's going to look like this. Well, we do have one answer here. We've got that one solution of 4, 3. You would click one solution, and then in this box you type in parentheses, 4, comma, -3, and close parentheses. You need
Did
both
you
of the
hear her
parentheses.
say space? She did not say space. That
Very.
means no space.
Very, very good point, Mr. Craig. Do not put a space in between here. This is all just one term. You don't need any spaces in between. You will survive without them, I promise.
All right, so let's take a look at this one. This one's just solving by elimination again. But the idea here behind this one is going to be how can we get these coefficients on either the x's or the y's to be opposites so that when we add them, that they cancel out. So I'm going to take a look at 2 ways to go after this. I'm only going to solve it one way, but I'm going to look at 2 ways to tackle this problem. The first thing is, well, we're using elimination, so what variable do you want to eliminate? And there's a couple ways to go about that. If I look at these x's right here, if I wanted to get rid of these x's, I could see that maybe, well, if this were like maybe a 35 right here, and this was a -35 right here, those could eliminate. If I added those, because they're opposites, 35 plus a -35 would eliminate the x's, but that would require me to times this top equation by 5, and this bottom equation by -7, and so because you'd have 5 times 7 would be 35 x's, and then if you multiplied the bottom by a -7, that would make this also a -35x. But that means I'd have to multiply through the whole top equation by 5 and the whole bottom equation by a -7. Let's go ahead and take a look at the y's as well. What happens if we try to eliminate the y's instead? So in other words, I want to make these coefficients to be opposites as well. So let's try that. Instead of get rid of the x's, let's focus on getting rid of the y's and see what that looks like. Well, I'm looking at 12 and 8, and I'm thinking of what's the smallest number that they both could go into, and I see that 12 could go into 24, and I know that 8 can go into 24 as well, so let's try making this, let's go with the -24 and a +24. Well, if I wanted to make this a -24, I have to multiply this top one by 2, and that would make this to be a -24y here, and we'll multiply through the rest here in a second. And if I wanted this one to be a +24, that would mean that I need to multiply the whole bottom by -3, and I'd have to multiply by a negative because I need this to be a +24. And a negative times a negative would be positive. 8 times 3 would be a +24y, and that would eliminate. Now this is probably going to be the route that I go because I'm multiplying by smaller numbers, and I'm also getting a smaller number as a result. So I think I'm going to go this route, and let's go ahead and rewrite this. I'm not going to do it all right here because I want to keep track of my work and show it as I go. So let's multiply the top by 2 and the bottom by -3. I have a new system after that. Let's multiply through. 2 times 7x is going to be 14x. 2 times a -12y is going to be a -24y, and then 2 times, let's get my equal sign, 2 times a -22 is going to be a -44. All right? Good, looks good. Now let's multiply the bottom equation by -3. Let me do that in blue so you guys can see that. See, -3 times 5x can be -15x. -3 times a -8y. Remember that this is a negative times a negative. It's going to be a positive. And then 3 times your 8 is going to be your 24y. And just kind of pause there for a second and look at that. You can see now that my coefficients on the y are opposites, a -24 and a +24, so that I know when I add these that those are going to be eliminating because opposites always add up to 0. To my equal sign, let's not forget to multiply this last number. A negative times a negative again is a positive, and 3 times 14 is, we got
42.
42, good number. All right, so there we go. let's go ahead and try adding these equations now and see if we eliminate. And add those. We got 14x plus a negative 15x is going to leave me with a negative 1x. You don't technically need the 1 there. I'm going to leave it there. Negative 24y plus 24y. Well, those are opposites. We talked about that, how that's going to be 0. That's going to eliminate. So I'm not going to write that there. I'm going to bring down my equal sign. And negative 44 plus 42 is going to be negative 2. And then if we want to get rid of our coefficient, we want to get this x alone. To get rid of that coefficient, we need to divide both sides by a negative 1. So those will eliminate to 1. We have x here, our equal sign, and the negative divided by a negative is positive. 2 divided by 1 is just 2. So I've had my x value, but remember, this is not my final answer. We have two variables. We have an x and a y, and I just solved for x, so that's 2. But I still need to go solve for y. And just like all of our other systems, once you solve for 1, you just substitute that back into one of your equations, and you should get that y there. So let's go ahead and pick an equation. Oh, I don't know. Let's go with the second equation. I'm going to go with 5x minus 8y equals negative 14. So 5x minus 8y equals a negative 14. And I need to substitute out the x for 2. So let's do that. Let me do this. 5 times x, I'm going to remove the variable, minus 8y equals negative 14. And now it needs to be substituted in. X is equal to 2, so I'm going to replace that x with the 2. And now I'm just going to simplify and solve. Start by your multiply. You got your 5 times 2 here, which is 10. Bring down your minus 8y, which is negative 14. To get the variable alone, we need to get rid of the coefficient and the constant, starting with the constant. We're going to subtract that 10 from both sides. So that's going to be 0 here. Bring down your negative 8y. And then we have negative 24. And then we need to get rid of that coefficient right here. Divide by negative 8. Cancel out your negative 8s here. Y is equal to, negative divided by negative is a positive, and 24 divided by 8 is 3. So now I'm not done. I have two answers, really one answer because it's an ordered pair. It should be x comma y. I already got my answer up here for x. I just need to write it in for y. And really, this is my answer right here in the ordered pair, 2 comma 3.